I'm the last, by the way. Hooray.
Hey.
I'm doing the time.
Don't hold back, Mr. Greenberg. Just,
Who's
I know you've been
That's
past
what
it.
Matt's wife said, and look how well it worked out for her. It's a whole long story. Read about that in the paper.
Who's there?
Adam, brutal, give it to me like you mean it. Oh.
All right.
By the way, I wish I had an iPhone, because my battery's running out, and I know everyone here has an iPhone, and I don't, so.
You have chargers. Whenever you're ready. Mr. Mackey, we were speaking the other day, and you mentioned you'd love to go anywhere in the world at a drop of a hat. You wake up in the morning, you're eating breakfast in New York City. Imagine then, you jump on a plane, and you have lunch in Paris. And we're not stopping there. You take a jet all the way to Sydney for dinner. Now that can happen with the Spider ETF. So my name is Darren Matinsky. I have an undergraduate in business administration. I have 10 years of business experience, and I am pursuing my master's degree in finance at Florida Atlantic University. So let me tell you a little bit about the ETF. This Spider ETF was established in 1993. Interesting enough, it was actually the first ETF created. Right? So it has some really good longevity. It does track the S&P 500, which is a really good aspect of it, that it tracks stocks. And it's not just one stock. It follows a basket of categories. It follows your tech. So if tech goes down, it does have healthcare, and it does have other things that are much more stable, like utilities. But what actually is an ETF? It's an interesting name. It's called an exchange-traded fund. And what it actually does is it takes the benefits of stock and the diversifications of mutual funds, and it creates this one stock called the ETF. Now, when we went over your preview, what we found was you have a long time horizon. You want high returns, surprise, but you also want high risk. And what's interesting is you knew that you wanted high risk because you knew that risk was really the best way to get some kind of return. So let's talk a little bit about your time horizon, why the ETF matches your time horizon. Basically, since you have a long time horizon, it gives you a chance to get into the market, use the ETF, track it, and if there's a real problem, you can actually diversify or change it or adapt it. But it also allows you to overcome some of the dips that the market may have. So that long time horizon allows you to come in and not simply worry about everything every moment, which is good for me because I don't want to get calls all the time. Now, it does have high returns. So far, the ETF is averaging about 1.1% return a month, which is amazing returns. So the CAGR, which is the compounded average gross return, is 13.5, which is really high. And to show you what that really looks like, $10,000 in 10 years. Now, we do know that past performance is not indicative of future growth, but I think this is a really good indicator of what this may look like. You can see almost a steady trend. Granted, there were times in 2008 when it dipped, but this looks like it can take you above the horizons and keep it going for your goals. Now, you mentioned high risk, and which is good about that, and it's good that you know about high risk, and I wanted you to show you what that risk actually looks like. So what we find is that here are your 0% to 5%, and most of your returns are right in that area. So you're going to get over 200 months here of positive returns. Now, with the risk, of course, we did have 25 months of low returns, and you might go a year where it's trending low. And it does show that there is risk here. But as we showed before, the upside was significant, really, and you know that you're not going to get very far without taking risk. But you might be thinking, maybe it's too risky. Well, there is risk to this. But, interesting enough, it does track stocks. So while stocks are risky, they aren't the most risky things on the planet. What is? Well, speculators, startups. Those are really risky instruments. This is not that. And it does have 20 years of returns. So I think that the benefits of the risk are outweighed by its, I'm sorry, the risk is outweighed by its benefits. So, do you have any questions?
You know, in The Voice, anybody watch The Voice? You know, that last one with 5 minutes left, you know, it's gonna knock it out of the park. You know, it's like you can't even fake it anymore, you know.
Yeah.
Is that a compliment?
Yeah, you just knocked it out.
Okay, good.
Because what you did was you covered, really, I mean, it was really good. You covered all the bases. It's the only ETF I like because it was made in 1993, and I'll explain what type of ETFs we made after that. There's a difference. And you covered it and basically all the things that we've been talking about all night, either you typing it in or, you know, you got it. And I think your presentation was very good because you know what, you spoke as a person that was covering both sides, saying very realistic, straightforward, no BS. Okay, again, I don't agree with the chart. Okay, however, with that being said, I love the fact that when you showed those high return days and then sometimes that, you know, saying, listen, you might go years with making nothing. That's okay. Okay, and you're informing the investor that this is a patient long-term thing, but more importantly, when you brought in the speculation of the startups and everything, because in today's world, we're hearing about, oh, invest in this app, invest in this, and you'll make big money. People are getting their ass kicked by getting caught up in the startup world, right? Because there are certain people that are qualified investors that could be in startups that just want to throw some money around, and which is fine, right? And there are some people that are going into startups that don't belong in startups. And it's no disrespect to them, they're just not in the financial curve yet, and they will be in time or later in life. So I think that was done very, very well.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Well, listen, Mr. Mackey, I really appreciate your time, and I wanted to let you know that I really do recommend the ETF for a couple of reasons that we talked about. High risk may make your portfolio go flat, whereas really safe may just make it go incrementally up, but the Spider ETF seems to be the right mix of both. So I think that you really should jump on board and offer that so you can get your dreams of traveling anywhere in the world at a drop of a hat. Have a nightcap in Tahiti for all I care, right? This is what you work for. So let's get the ball rolling. Jump on that now. Give me your answer by tomorrow and we'll sign up and get this funded. Thank you very much.